Hey, better late than never. This is your Eagles Squad podcast. That's Louie DiBiase. Right over there is Jason Martinez, and I'm Marc Farzetta. And we got plenty to celebrate when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles. In particular, Dallas Goedert not only returns to the Eagles, but he returns at a rock-bottom price as well to keep this band together and have the Philadelphia Eagles run it back. This is Locked On Eagles Squad podcast.
Fly, Eagles, fly. It's the Eagles Squad. Sponsored by Game Time. Everything Philadelphia Eagles every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from the city of brotherly love. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Get ready and squad up. It's the Eagles Squad show starting now.
Welcome in, everybody. We're getting we got a lot to get into today when it comes to the next hour of Eagles content for you. But gentlemen, I don't know where you were. I don't know what your reaction was, but I definitely stared at my phone for a minute or two and scrolled when I saw that a deal had been reworked for Dallas Goedert. I was expecting maybe it was a 2-year deal, a 3-year deal with money pushed on back, Jason. But no. It's the same deal as far as the length of the deal goes. 1 year for Dallas Goedert, and it's not $14 million, not 15, not 16. He has gotten even farther away from the record-setting deal that George Kittle signed just 2 weeks ago, and it is down to $10 million with maybe $1 million in incentives. Love what this says about this Eagles team, and also love that you're going to be running it back yet again with a guy I believe is at worst a top 5 tight end in the NFL when healthy, Jason.
Yeah, I mean, you always got to look at the market and why did he sign that contract? One, I think he signed it because he loves being here. He's comfortable here. And I think it's a big thing for athletes we overlook sometimes is they're humans. They're not just mercenaries that show up like a character and disappear. They are human people too, to not have to move and all that stuff. And clearly he likes his teammates and the culture here, and he likes winning. And that's what they've done. You don't take less money unless there are other ancillary facts that make you willing to take less money, because he's 30 years old. His contracts aren't going to start going up now. He's not going to start going into the range of getting paid, huge money for future production. He's in the now, here's what I've done production stage, and that's worth a certain amount of money. I'm thrilled he's coming back because he's a known commodity. Maybe injuries are a part of why the market may not have been as hot for him, in his agent's research looking out there and why he ultimately decided to do what he did. But he's coming back, and you've got a guy on what I have to term it as a cut rate deal for the production you get. And that he's got chemistry with the offensive coordinator, with the offensive system, and with the quarterback. So win-win all around. Howie Roseman rings the bell again, and here we go. Dallas Goedert's coming back. And, of course, I remember back to his draft year when they traded up to prevent the Dallas Cowboys from getting him in the second round. So I'm thrilled that he's coming back. And he is one of the Eagles tight ends that I've really enjoyed watching, really gritty and takes on contact. And we've had some good ones here. So I'm thrilled he's coming back. It's nothing but good news for Eagles fans because it's the known commodity, the guy you already know, the guy you already love, and the guy that's already won here.
Louie, same thing, man. You got to be excited that Dallas Goedert is keeping the band together.
Yeah, look, I think Howie Roseman has done a really good job this offseason maintaining a long-term approach, even after winning a Super Bowl. I think he's learned from his mistakes in 2018 where he made a lot of heart decisions instead of head decisions. So this year he let a lot of guys go. But I think after the C.J. Gardner-Johnson trade, I thought he was going a little bit too far with the long term. Like, you do have to try to repeat, though. I do think there are some moves you should make for the short term with 2025 as the priority. I would not have been a fan of losing Dallas Goedert, especially after not drafting a tight end early. Like, there was just no way around. Losing Goedert was going to make you a worse football team this year. So the fact that they got it done, phenomenal. Like, the offense is just, the fact that a top 5 tight end is your 4th option in this offense is unbelievable. The fact that you got him at a pay cut at a $10 million rate is even more unbelievable. And of course they did guarantee that money, but the fact that he took a $4 million pay cut, I didn't think they were going to be able to get it done. Like, I really thought, even with his injuries and his age, that some team would offer him more money and a trade would happen, but he didn't have that market. Looks like it did dry up, and The Eagles are getting a steal for Goddard. Dallas Goedert at $10 million is highway robbery, in my opinion.
Well, the other part of it is kind of what you're alluding to there, Louie. This is a team that when the story came out, it was about opportunities. One of the lines from Jeff McClain of Inquirer.com, who broke the story, was that he had opportunities to leave, but he chose to stay in Philadelphia. Now, let's get back to this. What does this mean for the Philadelphia Eagles? Obviously, it means that they have one of the most talented tight ends in all of football. But then on a bigger scale, it also means that they're worth taking a $4 million pay cut for to stay here in Philadelphia. When we listen to the free agents, when we listen to even the rookies come in at training camp, at rookie camp, we hear them all say the same thing. They're all talking about culture. Whether it's A.J. Dillon coming in here, whether it's Azeez Ojulari coming in here, culture. And yeah, when you're also a defending Super Bowl champion and you've played in 3 Super Bowls in the last 7-8 years, that's also a good thing as well. But one of the reasons that happens with some regularity now is because of that culture. So look, all these soon-to-be free agents, all these rookies just getting in here, I don't know a better message to send the rest of the league that the Eagles know what they're doing and they're worth taking a pay cut for than a star tight end taking a $4 million pay cut to make sure that he stays here in Philadelphia. So, look, we know what it means talent-wise, Louie, but how about this? What does it mean for a tight end like this, for a player of his caliber to say, no. You keep that $4 million. I want to stay put in Philly.
Yeah, I think it means a lot, especially Dallas Goedert has every right to be selfish, to say, look, I was in Zach Ertz's shadow for 4 years. And then the minute Zach Ertz leaves, you bring in A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. So I've always been the second, third, fourth option in an offense. Now you come to me after, look, yeah, he gets hurt all the time, but he's always there for the playoffs. 6 different playoff runs, he's been a go-to guy. He's second in franchise history in playoff receptions for this team and for playoff receiving yards. Had another great run this year in his Super Bowl win. And you come to him again and you want him to take a pay cut. The fact that he did that, yeah, I'm sure the market again was not great. I don't think a extension that George Kittle got or, Trey McBride got was out there for Dallas. But I think it says a lot about his selflessness because he's coming in again and he's not going to be a top 3 focal point of this offense. He's 30 years old. Like, is he going to get, as Jason alluded to, is he going to get a big deal next offseason either? Like, this was probably the time to strike for him, and he still came back on a $4 million pay cut. So I think the culture does say a lot. Like, it's a really selfless move, even if his market wasn't great.
Yeah, I think that other tight ends and some agents might be annoyed with him at taking the pay cut because you like to set the rate when you're one of the higher guys to get other tight ends paid. But it really does go around the league when a guy does what he did. And it speaks to other players. Well, why would he leave $4 million or maybe plus on the table? I got to really look at the Eagles because it's not just about the culture of the group. It's also about how you're treated. These players, you look at the stadium and you go, oh, it's a great stadium to play and it's packed. It's a very fervent fan base here and everything like that. And it's great to win here. But they in that practice facility, and it is top notch. Like, you guys have been in there. I mean, I'd hold a wedding in that practice facility. It's so nice, right? Yeah. And that's where the players spend the majority of their time and how they're treated, how they're fed, how they're supported from nutritionists and trainers and equipment and all of that stuff. That all matters to players. And that peels back other players' eyes when they're thinking about a potential landing place to come to Philadelphia. We had the old narrative in Philly. Nobody wants to come here and play. The media, the fans, all that stuff. Baloney. Players will play where they get paid and where they are treated really well outside of the game time. It's a really important element that people don't consider. And when you get the respect of an owner like Jeff Lurie, who I think really genuinely respects his players, especially guys that they drafted and developed and brought along, they invest in them. And those players pay it back in ways that Dallas Goedert just did. And it's great for the Eagles to have that. And you're right, he is the 4th option. You have Saquon, you have A.J. Brown, you have Devontae Smith, and it gets down to Dallas Goedert. But even though he's the 4th option, he could be the difference maker still they try and take those away. So, look, he sat on the bench behind the best tight end in Eagles history in Ertz and learned from him. So I hope he plays here his entire career. He's one of those guys I'd love to see only wear an Eagle jersey.
Mm-hmm. And on that note, by the way, speaking of the wedding reception there, I believe they do sell packages. I think Jeffrey Lurie does sell packages. Actually, I think you can have Big Dom either be a groomsman or be the ring bearer. So that package includes Big Dom in either regard there. So that's good.
I thought Big Dom was going to be the next pope when the white smoke came out. Papal Dom.
I thought the white smoke meant that the brotherly shove is sticking around. No, it's not happening.
Yeah.
Okay. I will say, here's one thought I had, because every once in a while, I don't believe myself to be a cynical person. However, every once in a while, I can do an impression of a cynical person. And when I do it most in sports, what's in it? Okay, it's beautiful. It's nice as people that no matter how objective we try to be, to say, oh, well, of course, the Eagles are great and culture's great. And you can win because the team's great, blah, blah, blah. As much as we look at it like that, what's really in it for Dallas Goedert? The potential is there. And this is where I'll disagree with something we said a minute ago. I think the potential is there for Dallas Goedert, 30 years old, will be 31 next time he has an opportunity to get a new deal. The potential is there. If he puts in, gentlemen, another solid season, if he's healthy and only misses maybe, I'll say, a game or two this year, as opposed to the 17 he's missed over the last 4 seasons, there's an opportunity here where he could cash in after this deal, I think. Now, look, are the numbers going to be there when there's so many weapons in this offense? No. But when you talk about talent, I mean, other teams aren't stupid. They know how diluted the numbers can be when so many other people, including, by the way, a running back, are getting love. If they're going to spell Saquon Barkley to the point of not having, say, 482 touches in a season in postseason, and they're going to spread the ball around a little bit more, and A.J. Brown will take some of the workload off of that as well, and your tight end's healthy, then the numbers are going to be better. But if Dallas Goedert goes through this season healthy and has anywhere from an 800 to 1,100 receiving yard season and 7 to 10 touchdowns, something in that range, then I think there's a good possibility. Oh, and by the way, the Eagles win another Super Bowl. There's an opportunity, I don't think it's crazy, where he actually cashes in after this year, where this deal, although becomes a bargain for the Eagles and the brilliance that is Howie Roseman, it also becomes a one-year bet on myself type deal if I'm Dallas Goedert. And if I'm Dallas Goedert and I'm looking at it from that angle, yeah, you're going to look at it not just to win another Super Bowl, but also have an opportunity to really cash in. Jason, I'll ask you first. You made the point earlier. Yeah. Is it the long game? Yeah.
Yeah, playing a long game. And do you like anything more? I love 2 things in players. I love players that in a season where they're playing for their financial future, and he'll be doing that again because of the one-year deal. And I love players, that have this opportunity to, get out there and garner that next deal. Now, he may be at an age in the NFL where he's not going to get the multi-year deal, but he could turn it into a one-year coup, a big jackpot for the single season, because of the amount of games that he's missed. And there's still going to be people leery of that, especially north of 30. You tend to not get hurt less. Sometimes it's circumstantial, obviously, in football. Played in 10 games last year. If you can play him in 15 games this year, proves reliable once again, which I fully anticipate he will be. I don't think his skills have diminished to some great point. And he puts in north of 850 yards this year. Then, he's going to get paid next year on a one-year deal. And you're right, playing for the Eagles is a name on the marquee when it comes to when you're a free agent. You look at the team and you look at, what he brings to the table on and off the field. And he's a guy that'll fit into any locker room or anything like that. So that drives up his number. He could be betting on. I love when guys bet on themselves because you're going to get everything they've got. They're going to take nothing for granted. He's made good money in his career, but he can still cash in a couple of, close to another 25 million over the next couple of years. So I like players in this situation because they still feel like even at 30 years old, a lot of accomplishment, still got something to prove. That's a good thing. That the Eagles and the Eagle fans benefit from that.
If he stays healthy, and that's the big what if. I mean, He's never done in his career. But if he only misses, like Marc said, if he doesn't go on, if the short-term IR, which it feels like a given every single year, he's going to miss 3 to 5 games. If he stays healthy, it is possible because you look at Travis Kelce, Zach Ertz, Mark Andrews, you look back in the day, Rob Gronkowski, and back even farther, Antonio Gates, Tony Gonzalez. Like those guys did play deep into their 30s. So you can play deep into your 30s at this position. So it would be possible. I just do not see an extension coming in Philadelphia. I think I'm really glad he's back for this year, but I do think it's going to be similar to Josh Sweat last year, where this is a 1-year rental restructure. But I like that they took that approach. A lot of times GMs will say, let's get out of this a year early than a year too late. Let's get a draft pick when we know he's going to be gone. But I think Dallas Goedert as a rental in a Super Bowl window is far more valuable than any late day 3 pick you're going to get when you already had 8 picks on day 3 this past draft, and you got a ton more coming up in this next draft. So I think, Mark, you're right. Like, he could probably earn an extension if he stays healthy. I just can't imagine it's in Philadelphia in any scenario. But I'm glad he's back for this year because he's so valuable in so many ways, like run after the catch ability, the deep ball. He's an elite blocker. Jalen Hurts trusts him on third down over the middle of the field. Like, I really do think he's a top 5 tight end when he's healthy. So, I mean, he could get a bag. I don't think it's in Philly.
I agree with you.
I
agree. And the thing is it signals something from Howie Roseman. They're trying to win another Super Bowl this year. He doesn't want to go with an unknown commodity at a very important position, a guy on third down that'll protect the quarterback's blind side at times with a chip block or be a great possession play over the middle to get you 7 yards when you need 6. So they're going for it again. And you always wonder after a Super Bowl and you get picked by around the NFL, all the teams start picking at you, taking your coordinators, taking some of your coaches, your players, and you're going to have attrition. How are you going to put yourself back in position? This is a signal from the GM that they fully believe they'll be back in that position to go for 2 in a row and get to another Super Bowl and roll the dice and see if you can win again.
No, I absolutely love that. And the other thing to think about here when talking about Dallas Goedert is, I agree that it won't be here if he does sign a deal after this season. I also don't rule out the idea that you also made Dallas Goedert a little bit more tradable. If Greg Calcaterra shows up in training camp and all of a sudden he's throwing weight around and has shown you that he's improved his pass blocking in the offseason, maybe he put on a couple of pounds, he's improved his run blocking, what have you, then you just made Dallas Goedert a little bit more tradable at the same time. So that's something I wouldn't rule out either. Yes, he'll be back. I love the running it back offensively. The other aspect of it is this. If you had to throw question marks at the offensive side of the football right now or the defensive side of the football, I think we'd be throwing a lot more question marks at the defensive side of things, granted that there's so much turnover there from your starters last year to who your starters are at least expected to be this year. You might fall into a situation where you're, at least to begin the season, your best defense is a strong as hell offense. That might be a case as guys start to work out some of the kinks that we saw in the first 4 weeks of last year before they took their bye week. So that's something else that plays into this. The other thing I want to mention with you guys, and maybe I'm wrong, I scoured the internet, fellas, talked to a couple of people that did really keep their ear to the ground with this. Was there anybody other than the Giants that got mentioned in the same sentence as potentially getting Dallas Goedert, kicking the tires, feeling out the situation? Was there anybody else?
Yeah, it's telling. I mean, that's the market, right? That's one of the reasons why he comes back. Could he have been bought? And, we talk about his Eagles loyalty. Yeah, he could be bought. Any player can, because they get one career, and it's a small window of time to set yourself up financially for the rest of your life. So I don't begrudge a player when a team is offering pretty obscene money to take it. And some people go, that's a lack of loyalty. Baloney. They've got one career to maximize it financially. And I wouldn't blame him in the least. But you looked at it and he said, this is what the market is bearing. This is what I can get here at a place I already know and love and have a chance to win again. So you weigh all those things. They're all part of the equation. Who am I going to be playing for? What's the scheme with the New York Giants? Do I have a chance to succeed and set up my next 1-year deal as part of it too? Because like you said, Mark, I think the long play part of it, playing here again to set himself up for next year, is a big part of it. Yeah, I'm not getting as much this year, but I'm going to get more next year because I took this year when I go to market. If I go to the Giants on a 1-year deal and I get paid 12, 14 million this year, but I don't have a great season, I don't get featured enough, I don't win, the next year I'm looking at a $7 million deal. He could turn this 10 into 12 next year, and the cumulative amount of money is greater. So, hey, you got to have the calculations and the forecasting in there with it.
Louie, did you see any other team that was interested in Dallas Goedert?
I heard during the draft process that maybe Denver or LA were interested, one of those AFC West teams. And so there is a scenario. There was a very likely scenario that could have played out where Goedert is not in Philadelphia. I think both sides were very open to leaving, I think, this relationship, right? And I think, though, after you realize the Eagles did not get a tight end in the first 3 rounds, when Denver took care of the position. A lot of those teams filled those spots in the draft through free agency. I think it kind of dried up. The well dried up. So at this point, it just wasn't worth it for, I think, either side. Goedert wasn't going to get the money he wanted. And for the Eagles, the drop-off from Goedert to Calcaterra would have just been so massive to me. And sure, as I mentioned, like Goddard's your fourth option in this offense. But last year, we finally saw what reality could be like if Devontae Smith and or A.J. Brown get hurt. Like, you're 1 or 2 injuries away from really needing Dallas Goedert. Like, their receiving core is thin behind Smith and Brown. And there's a drop-off after Goedert. There is no Zach Ertz next to him at tight end anymore. So I think this was just the best-case scenario for both sides after the draft when you didn't get a Mason Taylor or an Elijah Arroyo. So I just think it was best-case scenario, especially for the team.
Calcaterra played all 17 games last year. So if Goedert does go down and you have to go to Calcaterra in those situations, you're more comfortable with that, taking that risk with a guy who has missed, as you said, 17 games over the last 3 years. So having that guy in Calcaterra who is available, because if he's hurt and Goddard's hurt, now you're down to the third tight end. And yeah, next man up's a cute thing to say. Next man up is very rarely as good as first man up.
Louie, real quick, what were the other teams? Was it the Rams and the Raiders?
I heard Denver and the Chargers.
Denver and Chargers. Sorry, I totally misheard that.
Yeah, so the two teams in the AFC West, but of course the Broncos, I think, took care of it by bringing in Evan Ingram, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. But those are the two teams I heard as well. But the market wasn't crazy, though.
I do love the idea, though, of the Giants only showing real interest and Dallas Goedert saying, how much do they want to pay me? Screw it. I'll take a $4 million pay cut to stay with Philly. I'm not going to the
double
Giants.
to go to New York.
He must have. You saw the Saquon video with the general manager and the owner, and was like, "Yeah, I don't think so."
Yeah, this isn't. Is the guy's son going to be the GM instead of the actual GM?
Yeah,
okay,
right.
maybe. That's the only way I'll entertain it. Hey, later in the show, we've mentioned it in terms of top 5 tight ends. I know Jason will get into it as well. Top 5 Eagles tight ends. We can talk about that. But when we come back, there is a unique thing that came out in The Athletic recently about the relationship between Jalen Hurts and Randall Cunningham that I want to get into. And you want to talk about culture? This is culture that goes way back. And we'll get into that in a second. This is Locked On Eagle Squad podcast on the Locked On Eagles YouTube channel. Back after this. Oh, you guys know I love the Game Time app. There's nothing like the atmosphere of being at an NBA playoff game, Major League Baseball game, something like that, a football game, obviously, NHL, whatever it might be, from hearing the puck going into the back of the net, that slap shot, the snap of it is amazing. Also hearing the crack of a bat, a swoosh in basketball, whatever it might be. Game Time app puts you right there in the action. Every bucket, every defensive stop. Game Time makes it fast and easy to get playoff tickets, even when demand is sky high. Prices on the app actually go down the closer tip-off, face-off, kickoff, first pitch gets closer and closer. Last-minute ticket deals can save you up to 60%. And I use Game Time because, let's talk about the priorities here. Last-minute ticket deals, save up to 60% buying last-minute tickets for concerts, comedy shows, sporting events, theater, whatever it might be. I use Game Time app for that reason. Also, the Game Time app has all-in pricing. And don't forget about Game Time Picks. This feature is unbelievable. Game Time Picks filters out all the fluff to give you everything that you need right up front. The best seats at the best prices on the Game Time app. All you have to do is toggle the Game Time Picks feature. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code LOCKEDONNFL. That's promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use redemption code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. I don't know about you guys, but my introduction to the Philadelphia Eagles really was Randall Cunningham as their quarterback. And literally the first game I really remember sitting down watching was Randall Cunningham injuring his ankle, breaking his leg. I forget what it was, but it was at the Meadowlands. And Eric Allen picked off Boomer Esiason and took it to the house. And there in the end zone was Randall Cunningham, and Eric Allen gave him the football. And I thought, I think if I really like watching this Randall guy and they're giving him the football, this guy's got to be pretty special. And I was a Randall Cunningham fan from that point on. I love hearing that past generations that I grew up with and grew up admiring are influencing the current generation. And I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but The Athletic put this story out there about the text message that Randall Cunningham sent Jalen Hurts after he won the Super Bowl. Now, keep in mind, after Jalen Hurts won the NFC Championship, he heard from two people, both with Nike, but still two people. One was a guy by the name of Derek Jeter. The other was a guy named Michael Jeffrey Jordan. Okay?
Two of the best winners of all time.
Best winners of all time. And then one of the most beloved Eagles players ever, Randall Cunningham. Randall Cunningham reached out to Jalen Hurts, and how about this? If this doesn't give you goosebumps, you have no soul, okay? What I didn't fulfill, I'm fulfilling through you.
Ugh.
Randall Cunningham.
Awesome.
Right?
Jason,
you
you
and I are of a similar generation. How great is that?
It hits me in the loins because I remember when Randall, I'm a little older than you. I remember my first kind of memories are 1980 in the Super Bowl with Jaws against the Oakland Raiders. And then, of course, a couple of years later, Randall comes in and he's coming in on third down, right, for Jaws because of the ability to run with the ball, which we hadn't seen a quarterback to that degree be able to break into the open field like Randall. And he just became, as Sports Illustrated put him on the cover, the ultimate weapon. And, he had the Jerry curl when he first came in, and it was this just like a lightning bolt of a personality and style of play that we hadn't seen. It was so exciting and electric because the 99-yard punt. All of these things. You're going, what? This dude is a freak. And I always loved Randall because he was always such a chill guy, even when he was at his greatest stardom with the gold tip shoelaces and everything else. But looking back, because his career in Philadelphia and ultimately went unfulfilled, even though that great year he had in Minnesota went unfulfilled with the expectation of the quarterback that he was. And the fact that, because he's the OG mobile quarterback in the NFL. Yeah. He is the OG, and he is looked at that way. He broke down a lot of barriers for black quarterbacks in the NFL, and he is revered in that community. So to get that text message from him, and Jalen Hurts, very cerebral guy, is very aware of the history of Randall Cunningham and the black quarterback in the NFL. To get that, I imagine, was just wind behind him, right? To just push him forward. And, to get text messages from Derek Jeter, one of the greatest winners of all time in Major League Baseball. Jordan, it speaks for itself. Perhaps the best team athlete of all time, along with Tom Brady. And to get that from Randall Cunningham, a franchise icon, is awesome. I love hearing stuff like that because I think you should always embrace your past, not try and relive it, forge a new path forward, but embrace it and respect it. And I think that's awesome to hear that Randall did that. Sought out his number and sent him that message because I think that those things go into the mental scope of a player going into a Super Bowl, and it only helped them.
It is great to hear that the second best basketball player of all time reached out to Jalen Hurts.
Here we go. Generation. Here's where the generations go.
Are we still arguing this LeBron Jordan thing? Oh my goodness.
I don't know if there's an argument anymore, but no, it is cool to see Eagles of the past supporting the current players. But I think the coolest part is what you guys were talking about. The coolest part is that they were both similar players. Randall Cunningham and Jalen Hurts are what an Eagles quarterback has always looked like. Mobile quarterbacks. This team, the NFL now, pretty much it's a requirement that quarterbacks have mobility, but the Eagles have always wanted that in a player, going back to the days of Randall Cunningham and then Donovan McNabb and then Michael Vick.
Yeah.
Even to a degree, Carson Wentz, when they drafted him they wanted him over Goff. I think mobility had a lot to do with that. And then you go to Jalen Hurts, they've always wanted that in their quarterback. So to see Jalen kind of fulfill what Cunningham couldn't finish, and the same with McNabb and Vick, and he is that spitting image of them stylistically. I think that's the coolest part. It's not just that it's an Eagles all-time great supporting the new guy, but it's that quote is so cool, what I didn't fulfill, I'm fulfilling through you, because it feels like he probably is watching him looking in the mirror. This is who I used to be. So that's the coolest part for me. And I grew up loving mobile quarterbacks. It's part of why I fell in love with this team and with football in general. So the Eagles kind of epitomize that style of quarterback.
Yeah. And by the way, I got the same text message. I got the same text message from Harry Mays, who's off today. He said, "Hey, what I'm not fulfilling, I'm fulfilling through you. I was like, that's very kind of you. I'll make sure I share that with the gentleman today. But Harry has the day off today. Otherwise, Harry Mays is usually with us here on Locked On Eagles Squad podcast. Now, something else it reminded me of, because, and you both, I couldn't agree more with what you guys had to say in the football world, not the basketball world. But anyway, when it comes to Randall Cunningham, I remember that was my childhood, right? Like watching Randall.
He's
play.
the biggest star in Philly when you were a kid.
Yeah, Randall. When I was really little, Dr. J was still playing.
Barkley.
Those were the big. Schmitty was still playing, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys. But when I think back to that era, and thinking like how I was exposed to football through that, and then I, as an adult, watched a football life of Randall Cunningham. And there's, the story of him leaving. And I remember this too. Him missing like the second half of a preseason game because he was hanging out with Whitney Houston. Like, if that would have happened today, I'd lose my damn mind. If that happened today, if we were doing this podcast then, I would lose my damn mind over that. If Jalen Hurts was at some concert and not at a team event, it would lose my mind. Like, I think I'm the only remaining person in America that didn't like A.J. Brown looking at the book on the sideline. And I defend A.J. Brown more than anybody, okay? But just that one thing I didn't like. But it got me thinking about then versus now. And I made this point well over a month ago, and reading this story reminded me of it. And again, this was a quote from Randall Cunningham in The Athletic, what he texted Jalen Hurts after he won the Super Bowl. We spent so much time, and we've spent so much time talking about Jalen Hurts. Is he the guy and all that stuff? And now he has played in his second Super Bowl. He has won a Super Bowl. He's been a Super Bowl MVP. The quarterback that we have been waiting for years, for decades, generations, he's here now. He's here right now. And I guarantee at some point down the line this offseason, beware, the lists are coming. And Justin Herbert's going to be ranked above Jalen Hurts, and Patrick Mahomes is still going to be ranked above Jalen Hurts, and all these other guys, Joe Burrow, and all these are going to be there. And I don't care where other people have him, because what they're doing is playing fantasy sports. They're saying if Jalen Hurts wasn't on that team, how would he be on this team? If Joe Burrow had what he had, if Justin Herbert had what he had, all that, throw it out the window. I know I have a quarterback that I've been waiting for, with an offense that I've been waiting for, with coaches we've been waiting for, with a guy like Vic Fangio in particular we've been waiting for since Jim Johnson was here. We have the perfect scenario right now and the perfect quarterback for it. And going back and looking at the Randall era and even the McNabb era, look, I would love to see what McNabb could do in this offense with these weapons. It's amazing. But here's what I know. It's what we've seen. And what we have seen will lend itself to seeing more of the same level of success, I believe, mainly because Jalen Hurts is the guy making it all go on the field. And I have no question, ever do I question the mentality of the player, the mental toughness overall of the player, the smarts of the player. I mean, look how much better he's gotten the last 2 years just in pre-snap reads. Look how much responsibility he took on his own plate. He put on his own plate after a Hall of Fame center, Jason Kelce, retired. Hey, all the credit to Cam Jurgens, but Jalen Hurts said, okay, I'm ready for more responsibility when it comes to that, and he put that on his own plate. The quarterback we have been waiting generations for is playing here now for the Eagles, and seeing this story pop up between Randall and Jalen only reminded me and reiterated that to me, especially. It is a fantastic time to be a Philadelphia Eagles fan.
It may be the greatest time.
Oh, I think by far.
This
and
may
I
be
think
the greatest era, yeah.
That's what makes this Super Bowl win, to me, even more enjoyable than 2017, is that, Nick Foles, what an awesome story about an Eagles quarterback coming back to win a championship, beating Tom Brady as a backup. But it did feel like kind of lightning in a bottle. You knew the next year they were going to go back to Carson Wentz, and that wasn't sustainable. This year it's enjoyable because this is the franchise quarterback. This has been the guy you've been battling with for 5 years. That was in another Super Bowl that he played incredible in, but he lost. And so it's kind of a culmination of everything. And the, up and down debates of 2020 with Jalen versus Wentz, 2021, is he the guy? Should they trade for Russell Wilson or, who else they were interested in that year? So
right.
I think that's what makes it so much more enjoyable. And because the last franchise quarterbacks that played for a long period of time, like Cunningham, like McNabb, they weren't able to get it done. So I do think we kind of take that part for granted a little bit because Hurts' time here has been so up and down with like how people feel about him as the quarterback. But I do think we need to appreciate it a little bit more because you're right, Mark. Like the quarterback that we wanted is here. He's gotten to 2 Super Bowls and he's won you one, and he's been incredible in both. So I don't think we thought that would ever happen in Philly.
He checks all the boxes of what we've been looking for, what we thought other guys would be, but where they came up short. And, part of that, when you look at McNabb in the comparison to Jalen Hurts, is the ability in the big game.
Right.
That's where McNabb struggled. Yeah, he didn't have the receivers in many of those NFC Championship games in the early 2000s with, it just not until they got TO and they went to the Super Bowl. But the thing that Hurts brings to the table is he's won everywhere he's been. He's just a winner. Some guys are winners and some guys aren't. Some great players in sports are great regular season players, but they just, when they get on the playoff stage, they shrink. And we see some guys that are pretty good regular season players that are great on the big stage. He's going to be polarizing because the quarterback position is always polarizing. Yeah. And I think fans, sometimes we get caught up too much in what the outside people are saying. And we got to remember that, those national lists that Nick Wright and those clowns put out are all clickbait. Chase Daniel, they're all clickbait because they know the Philadelphia fan will react to them in a negative way, which garners clicks. So the thing about Hurts is this, though, too, guys. He's only 26. He's just entering his physical prime. He's already been to 2 Super Bowls, won one and has got an MVP, and he's just entering his prime. The quarterback prime is 26 to 32 because it takes some time to be able to adjust to the NFL and reading it and learning every year you go. And I think the coolest thing about Hurts is that what we found out after the Super Bowl win about the home screen on his phone. Right. The fact that it was all the confetti coming down for the Kansas City Chiefs a couple of years ago and how he used that as motivation. That is something that Philadelphia fans will identify with because we have so much scar tissue. We went 25 years in this town without a championship. The only city with 4 majors that did it. Had there not been a couple of lockouts in there, that would have been 100 seasons of pro sports in the 4-for-4 world without a championship. So we know pain. We know disappointment. And to know that the leader, the most important position at that sport and the biggest, sport in this town felt the pain as much as the fans did sitting in the stands is very identifiable and likable. So I'm just excited because the guy is only 26.
Yeah.
And he's got a lot more on the table.
Well, when you talk about Cunningham too, like Randall and Jalen for the early parts of their career, they relied on the strengths of what they did even well in college, mobility, the deep ball. But Randall until Minnesota never really got to the point that Jalen's getting to when it comes to, pre-snap, kind of being in command of the offense, accuracy inside the pocket, throwing with anticipation. I think Hurts, again, he's only 26, like you said. I think there is another level he can get to as a passer, and I think you could see that this year.
Yeah, I was not a big Stinkston or James Trash fan in those years going to NFC championships against Carolina and Alligator Arms, Pinkston coming up short.
The good old days.
Remember that
the good old days
game? Oh, McNabb got hurt. Oh.
Yes. I'll say this, and I know we talk generationally a lot on the show, but this is something I think all our generations can appreciate, but definitely I can't talk to my dad about this. To find out well after the fact that Jalen Hurts got married and not have it be flooding social media that, oh, Jalen Hurts got married yesterday. Look at this lavish wedding. Look at Jalen Hurts posting all this stuff. There was something so humbling and down to earth about that to me. Maybe I'm just looking into too closely, but when you found out almost as an aside in that Men's Health article about what he likes for breakfast or whatever, and it's oh yeah, by the way, you can call her my wife, and they're like, oh, what? The fact that it wasn't the cover of Time magazine, the fact that wasn't the cover of Sports Illustrated, the fact that you didn't see the social media post all throughout about this extravagant thing is just so down to earth, and the not thirsting for the media attention for it. There's something about that I think tells a lot about a person.
Especially in the modern day, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's such a rare thing. Like that's something I think you got from athletes a lot in the 90s around Cunningham's time. But nowadays, there's only a couple guys in each sport that are really like Jalen Hurts. I feel like in the NBA, like Russell Westbrook's one of those old school kind of
grinder.
Yeah, right? And so the best part about it with Hurts is it is authentic. I think a lot of guys pretend to be this way and they really aren't. Like they want that kind of attention. But I think Jalen truly is this way. Like he does not care. He doesn't want you to see anything, and he just wants to grind. So yeah, I think that's a special part of him for sure.
Yeah, he's the guy that likes to let his football and the results do the talking, not Brittany Mahomes or any of this other stuff. You know what I mean? Like that stuff. That's not what he's tasked to do. Be a public figure. He's tasked to win football games, and he seems so singularly focused on doing that. And part of that is, mitigating the noise of being the most important player, playing the most important position in a huge market like this, is mitigating that noise, not accentuating it. So many players do accentuate it because they crave the limelight. He craves the limelight for being a winner, not for just being a celebrity football player. And to me, that's his disposition of personality, which I think helps him be a winner.
You could say that on the field too, right? I mean, he didn't throw the football a lot this year because Saquon Barkley was having a historic season. He truly, a lot of people say they only care about winning, but they care about winning in a certain way. Jalen this year was like, I'll be a game manager. I don't care. And I think, he totally took a back seat. And a lot of quarterbacks that have had a historic Super Bowl performance that were MVP runner-ups, that were all pros, they wouldn't accept that.
Well, here's the thing too. Like, I forget which one of you guys brought it up. Like when Jason Kelce left, the guy that had to pick up the slack as calling out the offense was Jalen Hurts. Yeah. And the quarterback can very easily switch off from a running play to a pass play to get his numbers, but no, he sees what the defense is giving. He's going, I'm giving it to Saquon. Very unselfish, winning traits of a football player. And a lot of guys, like for a lot of receivers you see, especially, like they want touches, they want receptions because they look at their public numbers and they feel like they're judged on that. I don't think he worries about his public numbers and what they're judging. He worries about the one number, the standings number for W and L. I think he's a guy that likes winning, but I think he hates losing more than he likes winning. And that's the trait of the great players. They can't fathom losing. It hurts them physically, mentally, emotionally when you lose. Winning is great. It's fleeting, though. You enjoy it, and you got to get on to the next one to prevent you from going to that dark hole of losing. I think he burns that way.
I'll also say this. We've had to worry about this with other athletes. We don't have to worry about it with Jalen Hurts. And again, it goes back to the not huge social media presence about personal things in his life. This guy loves football. He doesn't care for the stuff football brings him. Yeah. That's something that we could talk about with other athletes where they care more about what their sport brings them and what the sport can give them more than they care about the sport himself, Ben Simmons. But that's just the type of person that we're talking about when it comes to Jalen Hurts. He loves the sport of football and the stuff that it brings him. Okay, yeah, he'll accept it, but it's not why he's playing the game. He's playing the game because he loves it. When we come back, we're going to get down to it when it comes to this Dallas Goedert deal. We've talked about him being a top 5 tight end in the NFL right now. We're going to give our top 5 list of tight ends. When we come back, we'll go around the horn with that. And then also, I want to make sure we get into this NFC arms race that is going on right now with Dallas Goedert returning to the fray, keeping this offense intact and running it back another year. We'll also talk about what the Dallas Cowboys did recently, and we'll also talk about what else has gone around the NFC when it comes to making sure they have enough weapons to maybe, possibly, put them in the best possible chance to actually compete with the Eagles in the upcoming season. That's what we'll talk about. I know Louie's got a message for you. We'll get to that in a second. We'll be right back here on Locked On Eagle Squad podcast.
Marc, I believe it's actually Marc, I believe it's Jason.
Oh, there we go. And we'll just pop Louie out of the screen, and I'll tell you about
I take responsibility for that, Jason. That was on me. Totally. That was my mistake. I got to put my clicks in a better position to click the right person. Miss Guzzi, I'm out.
Let me tell you about Upwork. Now, scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time and in the right position. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more experts ready to take your business to the next level. And that's what it's all about. You get to a spot, you got to go keep climbing further. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, which is the big thing, web development and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or for a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and, most importantly, affordable. Now, finding the right talent, if you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who has already delivered incredible results. So you know you're getting somebody that can deliver the goods for you. Fast and easy hiring. Posting a job is free and simple. And within a day, you'll have multiple qualified candidates to choose from. You don't have to weed through the people that are just throwing their name out there that can't help your business. Cost-effective growth instead of hiring full-time. Upwork helps find affordable, top-tier freelancers to scale your business and do it very efficiently. Do yourself a favor. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's UPWORK.com, Upwork.com, and you'll connect with top talent and grow your business today.
Yeah, there we go. We're running things. All right. Moment we've all been waiting for. Does anyone want to take the first crack at tight ends? Ranking the top 5 tight ends. I think we've all said across the board, talking about top 5 tight ends when healthy. So essentially coming up into this year, your top 5 tight ends in football. Does anyone want to
start at number who we think is the best.
Okay.
First, who's number 1 for you, Farzetta?
George Kittle.
Yeah.
George Kittle is still the best. He was paid appropriately, which is the rare thing we get to say in sports. I know he's got his own history of injuries and coming off of one and all that stuff. I still have George Kittle as the number 1 in the NFL. Louie.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's chalk there. Number 1's Kittle, back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. I'm curious who you guys have at number 2. I actually have Trey McBride from the Cardinals, who just got that $19 million a year extension. 1,000 yards last year, really broke out in 2024. It's going to be Kyler Murray's go-to target, can really do it all. I think McBride's that next guy that I think Brock Bowers, you could debate too, is like the best young tight end in football, but I love McBride's skill set. Very similar, I think, to Goddard. He's my number 2, actually.
Who do you got at number 2, Mark?
I'm right there. Trey McBride as well.
Right,
He's talking about
okay,
size,
cool.
talking about speed, talking about the ability to block. He is becoming better and better at that as his career goes on. That is right there, right then and there for me, 1 and 2. Jason, who do you have as 1 and 2? George Kittle's number 1. Who do you have as number 2?
Yeah, Kittle's a unanimous number 1. I mean, you could easily go Kelsey if you base it on the past. He's also 35 years old. So as you kind of head into the season, does he rank as a number 2 guy?
No.
Didn't come up big in the Super Bowl on the biggest stage where he had come up big before. McBride's a good one. What about TJ Hawkinson? I mean, close to 1,000 yards. He had 127 targets and 95 receptions.
Yeah, underrated. I think
that's a lot of targets, right?
Yeah. And the other thing I try to keep in mind with him is when you talk about a guy like Sam Darnold slinging it to him, does he have help with Justin Jefferson? Certainly. However, Sam Darnold's a guy that failed in New York. They moved on quickly. You could say, but he failed in New York. He failed in Carolina. I think he had a cup of coffee somewhere, and then ended up with the Vikings, and really helped TJ Hawkinson really put up some numbers that are also worthy of his talent level. So, are you taking Kittle 1?
Hawkinson
You're taking
2.
McBride 2, and Hawkinson number 3?
No, I have Hawkinson. McBride, I mean, it's right there. I'm just not giving it to him because of the sake that we all agree on something. For this whole thing, we can't all have the same thing. I look at Hawkinson. I'm doing it based on what he did and projecting forward a little bit as well.
Yeah.
And when you see a team that's got Justin Jefferson and 127 targets, it tells me that he's going to go further up the list in the coming seasons because they got obviously a ton of confidence in scheming him the ball. I mean, when you look at it, 127, that's a ton for a tight end. That's a huge number. So I'll go with him at number 2.
All right. I don't know if you guys have Dallas Goedert this high, but I have Dallas Goedert right here.
I don't.
I have Dallas Goedert as the 3rd best tight end in football. And again,
if he's healthy, you can make the point. I agree. I mean,
health's part of it, though. You got to consider it. You only
have
110 games.
Absolutely. But also, I don't think there's a better blocking tight end in football that can also catch the ball as well as he can. And yes, when healthy, this is all about talent. This isn't just about stats for me, because if you talk about a guy like Sam Laporta, he had a drastic down year from last year, but he's still a pretty damn good tight end. Just because the stats weren't there to to back it up last year doesn't mean that I think he got any worse. So for me, it's all about talent. And that's why it might be surprising as to somebody that I've left off this list, especially when it comes to what he could be bringing you in the not too distant future or lack thereof in the NFL. So I got number 3. I got Dallas Goedert. Louie, who you got?
I got Brock Bowers based on the volume, based on, again, projecting what he's going to be in year 2 and beyond. The Raiders really didn't surround Geno Smith with any new targets. I mean, they got Gentry in the backfield, but Bowers, again, is probably going to catch 100 balls this year. So I think he'd be at number 3, but I do think Goddard has a top 3 skill set, but I think, like Jason said, injuries for me do play a part, so that's why he's a little bit lower. Bowers, though, was just, I mean, I think that's the best rookie season a tight end's had, and I couldn't even tell you. I mean, he was the only thing the Raiders had on offense.
Exactly. That's why I don't have him high on my list.
That's fair. That's fair.
Okay. Do you want to throw this guy or crap? What would you like to throw to? Take your pick. You know what I mean?
He's the Eagles Zach Ertz of 2015 to 2020, and there's just no receivers.
I got plenty on that season. Don't worry. Okay, Jason, who do you got?
I got a guy coming off a great rookie year, scored 10 touchdowns, and that's Sam Laporta. He ends up with 86 catches for 889 and 10 touchdowns. Obviously playing with Goff, they chuck it around in Detroit. He had a great year. I look for a big year from him coming up in that offense. Once again, I think Detroit's again going to be right there amongst the top offensive teams in the NFL. So I'll look at Sam Laporta at number 3. May not get 10 touchdowns again. That's a big number, but 1,000-yard receptions, 1,000 yards in receiving yards, absolutely a possibility heading into year 2 for him. So 120 targets, 86 catches, and 889 yards. And again, 10 touchdowns. He gets to pay dirt.
All right. Fair enough. All right. Where are we down to now? Are we down to our 4 and 5?
We're down to 4. Yeah.
We're down to 4.
Who do you got at 4? You getting Kelsey in this mix or no? Even at 35?
No. A guy that was supposedly that close to retiring, and a guy, I mean, spoiler, I'll get through the rest of it, but no, spoiler, I don't have Travis Kelsey on my list for this because, again, it goes into a guy you want on your team in 2025, a guy that you think you're going to get the most bang for your buck in 2025. And last year, and this has got nothing to do with his off the field extracurriculars or anything like that. I love. I'll say it. I root for Taylor Swift. I root for Travis Kelsey to find the ultimate love. Okay. I hope they make beautiful babies. Okay. I don't care about anything other than just product on the field. And Travis Kelsey, you can't tell me, is going to bring you anything that he brought you in the first, 10 plus years of his career into his 35th year of life. On that football field. So not on my list anymore as a guy I expect to be in the top 5 production, talent, or anything like that in the upcoming season. So spoiler, not there. But down here at number 4 is where I have Brock Bowers. I respect the hell out of him. I think he is an extremely talented player. Yes, my rebuttal to you having him as high as you had him, Louie, was that, what's the other option? Well, guess what? He's in that position, a rookie player, and he rose to the occasion to be that target. He could have very well easily have fallen in with the rest of them and not been anything worth throwing to, but he wasn't. He rose above all of it, so I have him at there at number 4.
I do think Kelsey is 4 for me because although, like you said, he's not going back to who he was the first 10 years, but who he was for the first 10 years might be the greatest tight end of all time.
Probably
the drop-off from that is still a pretty good tight end. Like last year was his worst year of his career, and he still had over 800 receiving yards. It was really good in the first 3 playoff games. So, and yeah, I guess the retirement part is like how locked in is he this year. But I still think even who Travis Kelsey is right now is a top 5 tight end to me this year.
And because of the quarterback.
And that's the thing. And he's going to throw him the football. So I think Kelsey's 4 for me. But, I mean, the drop-off is coming, and it already has started.
Yeah. I got Evan Ingram at 4. I mean, just the raw numbers are pretty spectacular. With 114 catches, 963 yards, 143 targets. I thought about Kelsey here in this spot. But again, 35, and he's the opposite of Jalen Hurts. There's a ton around him. He's not just a football player. He's like a walking celebrity with the biggest celebrity on the planet as his significant other. Does the desire to dominate still, drive him I don't know. At 35, Father Time catches up with everybody. He's going to go down as probably the greatest tight end of all time. And he's in some really great company with some of the biggest names of all time. But I'll go Evan Ingram here at number 4.
That's I look, very versatile players, play with a lot of different quarterbacks. I like Evan Ingram. He's not on my top 5. He is the next tier down. All right. So we have our full. We have through 4. Are we ready for our 5th ones? Our last ones on this list.
Yep.
Let's go to number 5.
This is where I have Sam Laporta. I'll throw it right out there. I again, bounce back type of year for him. Totally expect him to do that. Very versatile offense that they have in Detroit. I think he's going to be another safety net for Jared Goff in the upcoming season. They've added to their receiving core. He could bring it in the blocking aspect of the game. He could bring it in the red zone aspect of his game. Sam Laporta is one of those guys that I just look at as a top 5 guy right now in the NFL, and he's number 5 on my list for tight ends in the NFL. Jason, I'll go to you for this one. Who do you have at number 5?
Going ahead, I'll look at. Let's go Joku.
As you're going
the freak that he is, the freak. Wow. He's like who was the guy? Well, I can't remember his name. The Eagles.
Javon Curse.
Yeah, Javon Curse. He's the tight end, Javon Curse, the freak. So we'll see. What he can do in Cleveland and have a big year. I'm just trying to provide a little diversity to the list, but probably not top 5. But a guy that physically can get the job done in all areas. Yeah. He is a freak, an athletic freak. So I'll go Joku.
Nobody's letting Kyle Pitts fool them for 1,000th time?
No.
Okay.
No, not yet. He's got to prove it. Oh, hey, look. Let me tell you.
Fool me 100 times.
Kyle Pitts and I went to the same high school, okay? We're both Archbishop Wood Vikings. I love him for that. I might have graduated a little bit before him, but I give a lot of props to my high school. Kyle Pitts not on my top 5.
That's fair. I think he has made us all look like fools, at least in a fantasy football universe.
Absolutely.
I've got it here at 5. I actually, Mark, like your reasons for him being a top 3 tight end is pretty sound, because I think the only other tight ends that have what he can do from a complete skill set standpoint are McBride and Kittle. Like, even Bowers, I don't think can do everything Goddard does. Like, he truly is the best blocking tight end in football. When he's healthy, he's one of the best run after the catch tight ends, one of the best deep threats, consistently at the top in yards per reception at this position. Like, so good on third down. In the play, he's, again, one of the best playoff performers at this position of all time. He's one of only 5 players to have multiple postseason runs with at least 16 catches or more. So I think Goddard's 5. The reason I can't put him a little higher is, like, you have to deal with him being gone for 4 to 6 games a year. He normally doesn't miss more than that, but he normally doesn't miss less either. Like, that's just the guaranteed 4 to 6 every year. But then he'll be ready for the playoffs. So that's why he's still in my top 5.
Love it. Absolutely love it. All right, I got to hit a little thing right here, and then we'll be right back after this. And we're back, just like that. All right. Look, we're not going to have a lot of time here, unfortunately. Yeah, let's get some of these in here. Jericho loves the Jalen Hurts, Randall Cunningham discussion was excellent. Thank you, Jericho. Much appreciated.
I didn't know about. I'm glad you brought that to light, because I didn't know about that. I didn't see the article in the Athletic.
Is that wild?
But I think I think that stuff's all. I love reading stuff like that. I mean, maybe when we get older, we get a little more kind of, remember when's the lowest form of conversation, as Tony Soprano said. But remember when is also a fun conversation, like hearkening back to Randall's days and paralleling it with Jalen Hurts and his success now. I mean, that's fun stuff. That's great stuff. I love that.
Yeah. It crosses everything here. What else do we have here? We have KC. KC, same technique. Oh, wrong one. Sorry. Clicked the wrong one. Don't want to rip anybody else. JJ. Hello, JJ. That's very nice. Best Birds podcast by light years. Thanks for the great content, fellas. Appreciate it. Bye, XRP. Thank you. Much appreciated. Thanks, everybody in the chat. Oh, here we go. Izzy, I assume that is. What's that?
Yeah, it's Izzy. Yeah, I agree with what he says, though, about tight end being something. You look at a draft and how he's got to assess it and go, okay, what is this draft strong for? And he may be looking at next year's draft and going, that's when I get my next tight end.
Mm-hmm. He's got to take one next year. Yeah, I mean, unless they really believe in Calcaterra, I think it's a foregone conclusion. One of those top 2-round picks next year, especially with all the day 2 picks you have, one of them is going to a tight end.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with everything is lining up perfectly for the Eagles to get this one great year from Dallas Goedert, hopefully. Yeah. And then he cashes in somewhere else. Because, look, you're talking about a 31-year-old George Kittle who just signed the mega deal. Dallas Goedert to be 31 when it's his turn to go through this in a year. And there's a very good chance that he does this with another Super Bowl ring with some pretty damn good red zone numbers. And maybe, if you're being the most optimistic you can possibly be when it comes to Dallas Goedert's injury history, talking about a guy playing 16 games, 15 games, so this could absolutely be a prove-it year for him as well.
And if not, Marc, Kyle Pitts is a free agent next year, so we'll get to him in Philadelphia.
Bring him home. Bring him home.
When it comes to general managers, if you look back at their history, sometimes they'll tell you the future. They let Zach Ertz go after his 31-year-old season, where he very similarly he couldn't stay on the field. In 21, Ertz only played in 6 games in the regular season for the Eagles, and they moved on. Now Ertz has gone on and done pretty well at his age, and now 30, heading to 35. But sometimes you look at where a GM cuts a cord with that position in the past, and how he's has got a long enough data set in the amount of years that he's done it, that you start to remember looking at Andy Reid when they moved on from the 2 cornerbacks, Troy Vincent and Bobby Taylor, to go to Sheldon Brown and who was the other one? Lito. Right? They go into that, and everybody was like, "What are you doing?" It was the right move because it was the right time. You look at that, and this is probably Goddard's last year, especially if it's a good year and he's going to get paid somewhere. It ain't going to be here, but we'll take the benefit of the year.
Exactly.
At a reduced salary.
Gentlemen, just like that, an hour flies by like no time at all. Louie, I know you'll be providing the great content right here on Locked On Eagles YouTube channel, so make sure you guys are following Louie. Louie, anything you want to promote for the week?
Yeah, I got a lot more Goedert takes. Post-draft depth chart I'm dropping tomorrow, so still got Monday through Friday shows for you on top of the squad pod.
Absolutely love it. Jason Martinez, of course, heads up your Locked On Eagles postcast following each and every Eagles game, along with Harry Mays. My name is Marc Farzetta. We had a great time with you guys, as per usual, for the full hour of straight-up Eagles content. We'll be back with you guys next week for 2 more episodes, 2 more full hours of Locked On Eagles Squad podcast. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Make sure you guys like and subscribe to Locked On Eagles YouTube channel. Catch you guys next week. See you then.